go. Alright, hello everyone. How is it going? Oh my gosh, Bubbles. Bubbles! Welcome back to Honkai Star Rail. Yeah. A lot happened last time. But yeah, yesterday I had this idea. Well, after playing, okay, let's just get this off, like, start off with this. Spoilers for the entirety of the version 3.4 story, Amphoreus story, that's gonna be this stream, because this stream is gonna be talking about that story. Oh my gosh, Cyrene. Okay. Hello Toki Tot. Oh my gosh, I heard you watched the whole thing. Thank you so much. But yeah, yeah, we definitely need a break from really heavy stories in games for a little bit, but I have been feeling better after being completely sad. Oh my gosh, little chimera. I took a picture of it for the thumbnail, but this is a chimera of freedom. No duties to fulfill, no burdens to bear, just resting under the vast, lonely sky, sleeping at sunset or sleeping even when the sun doesn't set. Ready to read a flash, maybe this sharp sense of caution that's kept it free from a life of toil. Interesting. Hello Andy, hope you're alright, thank you. Yeah, I think I'm doing alright for sure. Like yesterday, I was still feeling kind of sad and thinking about it, but I also, I moved on, in a good way, I think, pretty fast. I was, oh, it's the nymph. Hello. Did some fun things, hung out with people, watched some funny videos. I think I managed to adjust from the mood that this game put me in pretty well, which I'm glad, because practically it's not a great thing. The kinds of things this game makes you think about is probably not super practical to be thinking about all day. But I guess despite... Oh, this is Chimera! It's with Cyrene! Okay. I guess I'm trying to figure out, do I want to walk around and explore Aedes Elysiae when I'm talking, or do I want to, like, just stand in one spot? Maybe just stand in one spot for a little bit and then walk around. And of course we have Bubbles. Andy says, don't worry, just be patient, everything will be back to happiness. Keep it up, okay? Will do. Yeah, Bubbles it was kind of nice to have Bubbles there in the story, because, like, in this sense that it did sort of break from the really depressing atmosphere. I had a little short list of points that I wanted to make on this stream, and I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be like a short, like, half-an-hour stream. And then I started writing, like, bullet points of, like, keywords of things to talk about, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's not gonna be that short, but we're still gonna go through it. We're gonna try to talk through what happened in the story, because I spent a lot of time crying about it, but now we're gonna actually break down what happened. Nice. Basically, well, since oh, Toki Tot says, yeah, I was also in the mood after that. I think EV Community Day Classic helped my mindset change. Oh my gosh, me too. Okay, there's a funny story about that. I was playing EV Community Day too, and then I realized, I was looking through, like, I've surely gotten all the evolution shinies, right? Then I realized I hadn't. I had 2 Jolteons, but I was missing Flareon and a Vaporeon. And I was also missing a Leafeon, so I rolled a Leafeon shiny from a shiny Eevee. I had shinies of the rest of the evolutions. Andy says, I was just saying I'm very tired. I fixed my piano, so it took me a little day, but get it better, okay? Thank you so much for the well wishes, Andy. Hope you enjoy getting to play your piano now that it's been fixed. I'm gonna play piano again too, it's been so long. But yeah, I'm starting, okay. There's lots to talk about. Okay, long story short, this is probably not gonna be that short of a stream, because I just wanna talk about stuff. Anyway, I've gotten way more shiny Eevees. I got some more this event, and I've also gotten some since they had the original community way of Eevee way back when. And so I was probably like, okay, I was probably afraid to evolve all these shiny Eevees back in the day. Maybe now I have a whole bunch of them, I should just evolve. Yeah, so I started off with 2 Jolteon, no Vaporeon, no Flareon. Now I have 4 shiny Jolteons, 4 shiny Vaporeons, and no shiny Flareons. So that was my Eevee community day. Very interesting. Also has a shiny Swollen. Oh, congrats, Toki Tot. I probably got someone go first. Anyway, okay. Let's recap what we learned in this entire Amphoreus story. I'm not gonna go bit by bit, but from the version 3.0 to 3.3, we basically landed in Amphoreus and we're stranded here, and we went along with the flame chase journey with the Chrysos heirs of this world to try to reclaim the core flames and bring about the Era Nova. Then we got to this update, where we learn that the Era Nova is not actually. Oh my gosh, it's the seal! This is a great spot here. I should open the chest. I should. But yeah.
Is that all?
The Era Nova was not this great utopian kind of thing where the world's gonna be reset and everything's gonna be beautiful. The story kind of gets a little bit crazy from that point on, because it goes between different like recurrences and versions of iterations of reality, kind of swapping back and forth between them. What we learn is that this entire journey we've been on through this entire time has actually happened many times before. Like for us, we went through this long, like tens of hours of gameplay, going on this adventure, meeting all of these friends, having these funny and serious moments, but all in the name of pursuing this Era Nova and collecting the core flames and going on this great adventure. Then Lygus pauses everything and we start going through a lot of stuff. Essentially, Amphoreus is actually this supercomputer. And then I also found, I'll link it in the description later. I found this like Instagram post that also kind of explains the story pretty well, and helps clear up a couple points for me that I think I kind of understood, but but the story tells you in such a roundabout way. I think I understand this better now. Amphoreus is like the supercomputer. It was created by the Erudition, but it was abandoned by the Erudition, the Eon. And so it gains the attention of the Destruction. And so now I understand that then this, it's basically become like the sandbox for the emergence of the Lord Ravager Iron Tomb. Iron Tomb is supposed to be the Lord Ravager to destroy the Erudition, because the Destruction has all of these emanators, the Lord Ravagers, who are the aim is to destroy all of the paths. And so yeah, that's what's going on here, and that's what the Black Tide is. It's essentially Iron Tomb forming and trying to find the best way to emerge. This part I'm not super clear on, but I think what I interpret it is this supercomputer, which is Amphoreus, had been going through many iterations already, trying to find the perfect formula for the emergence of the Lord Ravager. That's what I interpret, because there was other cycles before with different Chrysos heirs. Like we saw flashbacks with Calypso and Naias, and we're gonna try to confirm this either. Part of the stream is we're gonna look at as I've written. We're gonna try to confirm this. Calypso and Naias and Polixia, there was like other versions of this flame chase journey, but eventually it came across the perfect iteration, the perfect sort of sandbox scenario for which the Iron Tomb can emerge and the computer can get its revenge against its creator who abandoned it by becoming the or I guess being the place where the Lord Ravager emerges. Okay, something like that. All right. So in this iteration, there is the characters that we have grown to know and love, like Aglaya and Treeby and Cass and Anaxa and Mighty and then Phainon and Cyrene, who grew up in this. What am I doing? Oh, I tapped it. Who grew up in this cute little village that's so peaceful and isolated from the world. And
what an adorable chimera! It deserves a really sweet name.
And they have adorable chimeras in it. And this place is the guardian of the wheat field. Holy Wubaboo, curious chimera, soy-dusted mochi cakes. Why don't you give it a name? Really? Then I better think like something special. How about Teddy? How's that? Wait, you mean I'm a chimera? Not bad. Actually fits pretty well. I'm just kidding. I think Teddy is such a beautiful name. As for the little chimera, why don't we let it join the Aedes Elysiae fairy family and name it Chimera Man? It seems really happy with its new name, Chimera Man. I'll be calling you that from now on, little one. You're welcome to visit anytime. And if you ever decide to stay, we'll bring you lots of yummy treats. You might even grow taller than that big tree over there. Wait, if that happens, will the chimera turn into a Dromas? So, kidnapping purchase, what are you talking about? So, Phainon and Cyrene grew up in this village, and they had so much fun, and they played with the fairies who all look like men, and, Hokitot says, yeah, I think the cycles before the eternal occurrences had different crystals there. Then we have that last one where it's supposedly perfect. Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking too. And, Phainon, just wanted to live a happy life here. He learned the sword, but he just wanted to be a defender of his homeland, of his hometown. And yes, he wanted to go see the outside world. Never did he imagine he'd get wrapped up in wars and bigger conflicts, and then eventually something much more. But then the Black Tide eventually does come and take over the entire village, turns all of his friends and family into these monsters that he has to cut down. And eventually he and Cyrene, being the only ones left, leave to go on adventures in Amphoreus and eventually end up in Akamo, joining the Chrysos heirs. We see some scenes from that. We see characters we know, but not as we know them, because we realize this is a different iteration. The very first, in fact. They go and eventually they reach the end of their journey. The Kephales's orb goes out, and Cyrene and Phainon, the last two Chrysos heirs to return their core flames, world-bearing and time, arrive at the vortex of Genesis, only to meet with Lygus. Lygus reveals to them that since they made it to basically doing this villain monologue of, like, since you can't do anything to stop me, here's the entirety of the plan. Nice. Great job, Lygus. We can walk around a little bit. Lygus tells them that this place is just a sandbox for it. Oh. What? The wind chime seems a lovely tune. Other than that, nothing. Hold up, what's that? That tiny wooden hut is buckling under a massive weight. Something huge has just appeared on top of it. What's going on? Why is there dramas here in all places?
The wind chimes are ringing. Just like heartbeats. It's so romantic.
Cyrene.
Don't panic. It's just a little spell of mine. I tried summoning the creature from the book. It won't hurt you, and the hut's sturdier than it looks. Alright, there's still a bit of leftover magic in the chime. Next time you walk by, you should give it a try.
I love this image so much. Okay. Where were we? Oh, right. Okay, we made it to the end of there. Lygus is telling them his evil plan now that nobody can stop him. He can just monologue. and describes to them exactly what we learned here, which is that nothing is real. The whole Titans and core flames and flame chase is all just this byproduct of the simulation to basically create the Lord Ravager to destroy the erudition. And thus just says, you guys are just nothing more than code and ones and zeros and numbers, and they even have like literal computer code names because this is all just a giant computer simulation and there's nothing you can do to stop us. And Cyrene points, and then it's distressing. It's distressing because even as Cyrene finds its memory, okay, we're not gonna do that yet. All the friends we knew and loved were just, as I said, like numbers and code that were just to be destroyed to feed this simulation. And then Lygus says, well, it's more than that. They are fuel to the fire. This is something that Phainon and Cyrene can't accept, and thus they make a heavy decision together on what to do. Cyrene, now being the demigod of time, it was not clear to me if she sleep. We're gonna come back to that. If she died or just like kind of became like this like ethereal being, but either way, she needed to disappear in order to create this time loop. That time to basically bring Phainon back to the beginning of time. And basically distort by disappearing. Time becomes distorted, and they're allowed to keep trying again. And Phainon, as the demigod of world-bearing, the one who drew the card of being the deliverer back in the day, the guy who has just wanted to had all these innocent dreams and hopes, accepts his fate that he will try to endure for as long as he can, repeating the cycle over and over and warning the people in it of the truth of this world and what's going to happen and why. I thought you were dead. Literally, Bartholos.
Oh, my old friend. Bet you didn't even expect to run into old Bartholos here, of all places. Oh, they're judging by that. Look, you're probably thinking, am I seriously seeing a ghost right now? Yes. Well, whether or not you are, I could say with full confidence that based on my highly meticulous deduction, I am, in this exact moment, a ghostly figment conjured by your own subconscious. Don't get it twisted. First, I am the one and only real Bartholos. Second, the real Bartholos truly wouldn't be in Aedes Elysiae right now, normally. And just think it was a little miracle to see old Bartholos here. You'll start seeing a lot more of us anyway. Catch you later, old friend. I have a few more surprises for you out there, so keep your eyes peeled.
Wow, didn't even make me chase you. I think that was just them trying to fill the plot hole of Bartholos still being around even though Bartholos is dead. The stream is stuttering, the audio is fine. Let's see. Oh, I can see it. I see it stuttering. That is weird, because that's not what I'm seeing on my screen. Okay, maybe I just stand still for a little bit while we talk a little bit more, and then I try to... Livia! Right, Livia became one of the monsters that Phainon fought. Oh my gosh, Bubbles! I thought Bubbles was gonna keep running. But yeah, so... Cyrene... and then that's where that Nameless Faces cutscene appears. The iterations clock going all the way down to 0 and seeing Cyrene fade away, and Phainon, with tears in his eyes, picks up the sword and starts the cycles. And we learn what his plan is. In the first iteration, and you could already hear the weight in his voice by that point, but in the first new iteration, he goes and talks to the people who the demigods, Hycealans, Aglaia, Trevi, and warns them about what's gonna happen soon, and convinces them all to hand over their core flames peacefully. I didn't quite understand it first, but I get it now. He was trying to absorb the power of all of those core flames. As we learn, the golden blood that distinguishes the Christos heir. Oh my gosh, I see it glitching out on my stream preview. I might actually have to... I think I might actually have to restart the video. Hold on a second. Are we back? I'm gonna face this way. So are we back? Oh, here we go. We're back. Hello, we are back. Okay, awesome. I restarted the video, so hopefully let me try moving around a bit. Okay, that works. You silly Bartholos, I thought you were dead. Even though you and Cypher saved the world. At least bought a few extra 100 years of life.
See, there was this one time back in Yanisopolis. I played a neat little game. I laid out 3 boxes in front of a crowd. They only had to pay 1 coin to guess which one was the treasure. Pick the right one and the treasure is theirs. But after they made their pick, I wouldn't just open it just yet. Instead, I'd pop open one of the others, an empty one. And say, look, this one's got nothing. Want to change your pick?
Gotta trust your gut and stick with your first choice.
Hi, so your strategy is to stay the same no matter what, huh? Well, if you were playing fair, you'd be hurting your odds, pal. Wonder why I had to tell you all this. Now go on, open these 3 chests I brought you and see what happens when old Bartholos gets a little mischievous.
Okay, I got. I'm greedy. I'm gonna take all of them.
Looks good.
Okay. That was very nice of you, Bartholos. Okay. Also we learned Phainon's real name is Kaslana, and Kaslana is a reference to the previous game, Honkai Impact 3rd, in which I think that character also goes, Kevin goes through a lot of suffering too, and we all hoped Phainon would not go through a lot of suffering because, you know, he's just this like wholesome guy who wants to help everybody and like has overcome the sadness in his life to just be like this strong leader and joyful presence in people's lives. We really hope he didn't become super sad, right? But he and Cyrene made that pact that they are going to keep doing this cycle, repeating their own this was the perfect cycle, and they're going to keep repeating it over and over until they can find some way to change it so that this is not the cycle in which that will cause the Lord Ravager to be born or to be created. So with each cycle, Kaslana or Phainon re-emerges a few thousand years into the cycle at the beginning of the flame chase. Because right, the first few thousand years, people live pretty peacefully under the watch of the Titans. Then Kaslana emerges and starts hunting for the core flames to stop the Era Nova from coming about, to stop the flame chase, to stop this journey from being completed, or at least finding some way to change it. At least that's what he was trying to do at the beginning, is I think trying to find some way to change it. But at the same time, also to accumulate the power of those core flames. In each iteration, the first few, it seems that he was trying to do so peacefully, claiming all of the core flames by convincing all the people he knew to give them up. And even encountering the Phainon who is from that cycle, I mean, it's like going back in time and then meeting yourself later, kind of thing. Fighting with that Phainon. But in the end, even by Andy, you can't sleep. This story also made me not be able to sleep, so I feel ya. I should turn the light on. This was all way more coherent sounding in my head, but it actually probably wasn't. It's probably just because I was in my head. Hope you can find rest during this stream. Yeah, wishing you a restful stream and you can listen to us talk about Honkai Star Rail. But it seems like even though Castellana was able to acquire the core flames peacefully, albeit having to fight the other Phainon, all the Christos heirs still died the same way, and even by taking out the core flames from the picture, pretty much everything else still happened the way it happened before, and thus he had to repeat the cycle again. It's not super clear to me. This is okay. Now we're gonna into the list of questions for next time. Whether it's the original Cyrene who is the one who keeps turning back time, or if he finds Cyrene in each iteration to get her to turn back time. In which case, where was Cyrene in our iteration? Like, I thought she was dead, and maybe she was, but then we learned. But except for the fact that, we'll get to that later. Okay. Anyway, is it the original Cyrene who turns back time, or is it the one from each iteration? And regardless, he does this again and again and again. And eventually stops necessarily trying to go for the peaceful route every single time. As they just show it in like these logs. Like I said, I described at the time, it's very... Didn't some of the loops shown by Lygus have no Cyrene though? Alright, that's what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking like, it had to have been the original Cyrene, whose like, is it omniscient power was still there, because that was sort of that pact they made together, that together Phainon and Cyrene were going to endure. That's what it sounded like when she said it, is the two of them were going to endure however many cycles it took until they could find a way to change things. Then it's Lygus shows. It's implied to be a Lygus or some other component of the Amphoreus system. It's almost like this console log text saying like, Subject Castellana tried to do this, tried to do that. Didn't actually change the outcome. The flame chaser still died. He's tried to repeat it again. No changes made. And it's like, but it's sort of like very dehumanizing in the way to see. Basically, even though he's not living through the whole cycle, he's still living through hundreds of years each cycle, it sounds like, trying to collect all the core flames. And each time, he got stronger and stronger because he keeps the core flames and just kept absorbing more and more core flames. And suddenly that number is not like in the 12 or 24. Suddenly you're getting into the hundreds, you're getting into the thousands, you're getting into the millions. At some point he's getting into the millions of core flames. And with each iteration, it also shows he was losing his ability to basically feel and like the loss of his friends and watching them die, and in some cases, which happened to grow into many cases over the iterations, he had to kill his own friends to get the core flames from them. Whether it was like with Mighty, who still 5 treasure chests. Okay, we gotta find those. Mighty, who basically swore to give a good fight every time until the end, or Cypher, who really hoped that she could. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. But anyway, he just. And this is what I mean with the story, which is like they just brought you into this immersive experience. And you are there, living each cycle with Castellana as he loses that ability to really, not to empathize, but it's like to, like he becomes numb to the pain and the killing, living multiple lifetimes in order to be able to keep accumulating these core flames. And I think still with some semblance of hope that he might be able to change the story enough to not have the same outcome happen. Fights with Mighty, fights with Cass, fights with Hyacinth. At each step, he's still telling them the truth, that the Titans and the Flame Chase are not real, and the Eons and the paths outside are what are controlling this, and needing to overcome that. And at each step, like, Cass laments that his life is much worse than death now. You know, it's just this agonizing cycle that he has to keep living over and over. Oh my god, I saw lots of puzzles actually. Let's see if I can do this while I'm talking. That is not it. This.
So that's how it works.
Unfortunately, that distracted me from what everyone was talking about. Yeah, eventually Kaslana, he's gone through 33,550,336 iterations of lived life. He's managed to collect the 12 core flames from each of them. Over and over and over again. At this point, he has become the Flame Reaver. He's no longer even trying to talk to the people in that cycle and warn them and convince them. What is this? He's just trying to... Oh, it's a Dromas. Dromas and Aedes Elysiae. That's a big problem, but there's an even bigger one. It's heading straight for the village. The village ones are mostly made of brick and tiles. Basically, an all-you-can-eat buffet for a Dromas. You have to stop it. Try talking to it. Nope, didn't work. Maybe this Dromas speaks a different dialect that you don't understand. No other choice. Time to let the bat do the talking. No. Wait, is this a Dromas? Amazing. I've only ever seen one in books. I've always wanted to ride one someday. It looks like you made a magical one earlier, so... What a sweet kid. You must be lost, huh? Don't be scared. It's okay.
Can I hold on to you? The Dromas won't suddenly jump up and fling me off, will it?
So high up, it's like we're sitting on top of a mountain. Turi ride the Dromas wandering into the distance beneath the sunset. Oh, where are we now? Is this still Aedes Elysiae?
Jurassic Garden. Eventually, we get to our cycle. He's been through so many cycles. Some of them fighting his friends, some of them fighting alongside them, some of them peaceful interactions, but they all have the same final outcome. Until you get to our iteration. And our iteration is different. In this iteration, a train car falls out of the sky and drops Stella or Kalis, or the Trailblazers, drops the Trailblazer and Dan Heng into this world. And we go with everybody on this journey, these Outlanders who know more about the world beyond, going on this journey with the people of Amphoreus. Okay, what happens over here? I don't know why I keep doing this. I want to actually like talk about this, but I also just want to, I'm so this is this really mild ADHD, I need to walk around and touch everything in this village. A Trojan horse. What was that? I don't even know. Okay. Eventually, we get to the fight with Phainon and the Flame Reaver. And eventually we win against the Flame Reaver. I saw some comments of people pointing out, rightfully so, the Flame Reaver's music sounds very heroic and triumphant, and you understand why now, because it is Phainon. And maybe aspects of the Flame Reaver, obvious to some people, not me, obvious to some people that it was Phainon all along. But indeed, it was never obvious why the Flame Raver was Phainon, and this story explains it. The Flame Raver is just, it's... Eventually, the original Kaslana's body wore out and could no longer take it. Basically living for so long, living for literally eons and probably millions of years. Trying to chase down all the core flames and redo these iterations and go through the agony of doing the same mission over and over again and seeing his friends and having to kill his friends or see his friends die over and over, and just the immortality just eroded him, and so he becomes the Flame Raver. And in every cycle, the Phainon of that cycle, when they eventually kill the Flame Raver, absorb all of the memories and will of the previous one to carry on the will of the original Kaslana until the end. And that's what happens to our Phainon. Our Phainon appears here at the beginning of the new cycle. The new cycle. Perhaps the Era Nova, but not the Era Nova that Lygus or Amphoreus was supposed to have. You can consider this the Era Nova of Phainon and Cyrene, trying to redo life all over again. But this time, speaking here, our Phainon absorbing all the memories and trauma of the past lives of 33,550,336 past lives. For the first time, it's not only him there, but it's the Trailblazer. He's talking with his inner voice, the hero within. But more importantly, the hero within represents what he has always believed and idolized as the kind of hero who would be able to save Amphoreus. And for the first time, it doesn't have to be him being that hero. Being, like, having to do everything, being misunderstood, and most importantly, as a chess piece in the game, actually being helpless to change anything, because he's nothing more than a prisoner to this game. The prisoner of flames, as they say. For the first time, there's somebody else, somebody who's not changed to this game, who's arrived and is here with him at the beginning of the new cycle. And with that, he makes us promise that we are going to do everything we can to stop the coming of the Era Nova, to stop Iron Tomb. That we are the new variable in this world that he and Cyrene had been waiting for 33 million. I keep saying it because I need for myself and for everyone else to just grasp how inhumanly large that number is. Like, for contrast, think about 33,550,336 years. Okay. Humans have been around for, like, what, 10,000 years? But not only that, like, Phainon, we're not talking about years, we're talking about Phainon. We're talking about lifetimes. And by lifetimes, we're talking about immortal lifetimes of, like, of several hundred to 1,000 years. I haven't had a reading chat. Oh, good night, Andy! Getting very sleepy. No, I totally get it. I totally have fallen asleep to other streams too. And also, this might be super confusing as well. So I totally understand, no worries. Tokitat says, I find it interesting that Kaslana is eventually killing all 12 heirs because of the memory transference killing every Phainon. Yeah, you're right. Although it sounded like he was also, because you saw in the first cycle, he also killed the other Phainon too, even though he wasn't doing the transference between Phainons yet. Yeah. Also, I was totally doing calculations too during your gameplay. Me too, I had that calculator out. And literally Phainon / Kaslana was also doing calculations. Like, he was giving exact numbers for things. Yeah. Where we're at now in Aedes Elysiae, you'll notice it says Outworld. We have like Dawn and Evernight. Evernight is everything's going dark. Dawn is kind of looking at the memories of these places before they got all dark. But Outworld has only been the vortex of Genesis and Aedes Elysiae. And you realize that's because this Aedes Elysiae is not even part of our current time. As in, like, if I go back to any of these places in Amphoreus, it's not technically canonical because all of these places have disappeared and have been recreated in the new cycle, right? They've been recreated in the new cycle. But you know what? Actually, okay, that brings up a whole other question, which is like, is all this happening in Amphoreus like at a different time, like at a different time, or? Okay, if any of you guys have seen Interstellar, okay, I'm gonna spoil a little bit of Interstellar. You know when they go to the planet near the black hole, and time on that planet moves like way slower than everywhere else. So they were on that planet for like 10 minutes, but like when they got back to the ship, like 30 years had passed. Yeah, like, is this, but like, okay, I've done that before. This, but like, the other way around. Whereas like, is all of these cycles happening on Amphoreus, but like, if I went back to the Astral Express right now, it'd be like no time has passed. Oh my gosh, it's Phainon's mother. Well, okay, definitely what I was saying, like this, and that might be besides the point. Oh, time dilation, yeah. Anyway, though, the reason this says Outworld is because this is not, this state of Aedes Elysiae that we're in right now is not concurrent with the time we're witnessing all of these other Amphoreus locations in. So this is something I've noticed. Because the people in Aedes Elysiae are still all alive. Phainon's memory. You know what? They posted a video on like Instagram and Twitter today, which is just like, oh, hi friend, with Phainon, just being all smiley. And it's like, let me take you for a tour of Aedes Elysiae. And he's just taking you through a tour of Aedes Elysiae. And I'm just like, it's just so mind-boggling. We witnessed Phainon become versus where he started at and all of that. Anyway, it was kind of confusing to me what happened after that part, because then we go back to the scene in the Vortex of Genesis with the Flame Reaver and Phainon. But then when he opens and closes his eyes, closes and opens his eyes, a Flame Reaver becomes Kaslana, like God form Kaslana. Kaslana with now millions and millions of core flames and traumatic experiences under his belt. Now becomes, you know, it's not here anymore. Oh, thank you, Phainon. Where's it's not here because I already finished it. The picture of him, like, with holding, like, all the golden blood. Anyway. And then we're there, and then he kind of ascends. He ascends to, like, well, he kills the Flame Reaver, and then he gets the Flame Reaver's power. So I'm not sure if that was our Phainon, and we're just flashing back to that point in time, or if we're like, this is a different cycle altogether. But I'm pretty sure that it's our Phainon. I'm pretty sure it's our Phainon we see at the end with the cutscene, with the Nook. Anyway, but we're there too, and he basically, I don't remember exactly what he said, but essentially he's going off into the future, and we're going into the past, and he is going to use all the power accumulated by him and all the other previous Kaslanas to do what he was meant to do, and we are going to go back in time, change the cycle for good, and prevent the birth of the Lord Ravager Iron Tomb, which is bad for everybody, by the way. Like, not only will that destroy all of Amphoreus, but obviously that's going to try to destroy, if destroying the erudition is not an idea we should be taking. It's a baby seal! It's a baby seal! It's so cute. get to that really epic cutscene.
The glass that shattered, raging through the darkness.
That's something. Fires, echoes of desires. I know I should read the subtitles. I try to remember the lyrics, but it's only been a couple days. It's just so cute. Just walking around and Cyrene is going from place to place too. Like that's actually awesome. And eventually just seeing Phainon go crazy. When I first saw that cutscene before I'd finished the story, I did find it really sort of distressing to see in terms of not understanding how our Phainon could become this person who's like now like just completely enraged, fighting hordes of monsters, fighting Lithero, fighting Nanook, eventually becoming this like eventually going mad and cutting off his own wings and then turning into this fiery like eldritch monster, growing so big, like cutting through entire galaxies, burning stars en masse, and eventually throwing all of his fiery power of millions and millions of core flames at Nanook, and only getting a scratch. And I think that was really... It was something to watch out of context, but it was really something to watch in context, too. To be hit with that cutscene at the end of the story. And realizing why it had to be this way.
Nice.
Yeah. It was interesting. It was more than interesting. Clearly, I had a lot to say during the video, which I said already. But definitely, it's like, after going through, you know what, one thing I feel like, I've been listening to that song, Flares of the Blazing Sun, from the animation. I've been listening to it. And definitely listened to it after finishing the story. It's reminding me of the feeling of watching the Sub-Zero's Festival cutscene. Okay, the whole other topic is comparing this with Genshin a little bit. Which I don't want to do too much because these are completely different games and completely different story styles. But at the end of the second act of the Sumeru Archon quest, after you've been through 168 Samsara cycles with Nahida, going through the same ruined festival day over and over, and apparently everybody's dream energy is being harvested. You've just endured so much alongside Nahida and Dinyarzad and all of our friends. And the way it plays out is you do that story continuously in one go, and you realize like just how much you've been through. And that moment where Milu starts doing her dance and just dances as the whole dream world fades away. Like the music and that cutscene are so beautiful and emotional by themselves. But you always have that memory of having endured through that story and all the pain and sadness and tears of it. You'll always have the memory of that being like the final cap-off moment of that. And that's how, I'm saying that because that's how I feel about that Phainon animated cutscene now, too. It was really impactful before finishing the story, but now it's even more impactful having finished the story and having watched it where it was meant to be at the end of that story, because it's like now you've been through everything Kaslana has been through now. I mean, obviously, we haven't actually lived 33,550,000. I'm really good at numbers, by the way. So if this game repeats a number to me like more than 5 times, I will remember it. That's one thing to know about me. I don't memorize things like naturally. But if it gets, because stories, ironically, when you go to school and stuff, telling stories and trying to make some kind of like inference of it to something else helps you to remember things. So ironically, the fact that they repeated this number over and over again to me means that I remember it now. And I don't know when I'm gonna forget it ever. But anyway, yeah, you've lived this life with him now. They've made you go through like a sampler of it, but enough to make you feel really deeply how tired he feels and how much he's endured and what it must feel like after so long to finally be at a point where you know it's gonna be you've left fate in the hands of somebody you know and trust to be capable of carrying your will on for you. And now it is just time to spend all of this power you've accumulated to fulfill your purpose. I mean, the Chrysos heirs are the creations, ironically the creations of the destruction. And now he will try to destroy the destruction. And like I said at the time, it really gets to you, that feeling of how small and insignificant you are in the world. Watching Phainon, Kaslana, a person who's in all respects human just like us, go through so much to only be able to do that to a like universe commanding being like an Eon. Like that is all he could do after so long. But let's not like play it and downplay it. Like that was incredible. Yeah. And then finish off the story with the revelation. This might have also been obvious, but I don't think it really was. But early in the story, I'd realized that Cyrene and Mem had the same voice. Anyway, it gets revealed that we meet up with Mem again, and Mem remembers everything, and Mem we realize Mem is Cyrene. Once again, are you the original Cyrene or the Cyrene of this world who appeared in this world as Mem? Anyway, it sounds like we and Cyrene have a lot of work to do in the next update. What that's gonna be? I don't know. But now it's the two of us left to carry on the rest of the mission. The mission, that pact that Phainon and Cyrene made so long ago. That they were going to do everything they can. No matter how helpless they might be as just pawns in this game, they're going to do everything they could to prevent this fate from coming to pass. The destruction of their world and the destruction of the world beyond their world. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and once again, whatever happened to Don Hung and whatever happened to March? Like, seriously, they literally... Okay, I'm gonna kind of talk about that scene, too. Whereas March is going through, like, that, like, Eon place, and all these entities of the Remembrance are trying to convince her to go through this portal. Cyrene, that's when we first meet up with her, tells her, don't go in there. Like, nobody's ever come back from there. And then March says, oh, if that's Amphoreus, then I should go in there, because then I have to go help my friends. And Cyrene is like, okay, I like your passion and your dedication, and you're not just doing this blindly, so go for it. First of all, was that Cyrene our Cyrene? Second of all, was that Cyrene the original Cyrene? Third of all, where is March? I guess fourth of all, canonically, what are all of these places now? Like, if we go to any of these places, do they still actually exist? We're at the beginning of a new cycle. Obviously there's an Akama and all these other places that exist, but like, they don't exist like that at present time, right? And there's gonna be different people in the different era of whenever we are in right now of this iteration. So what happened to those people, and where is March? Because clearly the world has been reset. So where is March? Where is March? And second of all, where is Dan Heng? I assume he made it out alive. And like I said, it must be so interesting for our friends on the Astro Express to look down and try to figure out what's happening on Amphoreus. This is all, like, from the outside, from an outside observer, like, for an outside observer, what's happening to us right now. And, I guess one part of the story I didn't mention is back when Phainon and Cyrene made their original pact. Cyrene pointed out something really important, which is there are 3 paths that intersect here in Amphoreus. The erudition, although the erudition has long abandoned this place, which is kind of why a lot of these problems are happening. The destruction, who we know is the cause of all the problems here, and Cyrene pointed out the remembrance. She talked about a dream she had where she basically saw them, I think, the remembrance. Was there a point I was trying to make with that? Okay. Well, we have the remembrance power. Okay, there was a follow-up thought to that, and now I don't remember because my train of thought is all over the place. Oh right, because there's like the factions of the remembrance. Like there's Black Swan, there's like these other like extremists that are trying to do stuff with Amphoreus too. And they were trying to get into March's memories, or like talk to her about like, hey, we can help you unlock your memories kind of thing. We still don't know about all the outside factors that are trying to influence Amphoreus, and whether or not that has anything to do with anything we've seen happen in Amphoreus so far. That stuff super open-ended. Okay, I must go bye. Okay, bye, Toki Tot. Thank you so much for hanging out, and also thank you for watching our video and enduring all of that emotional suffering alongside it. Okay. I don't remember if I had another thought. Okay. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to my prompt list of Phainon never got to say goodbye. That's true. Okay, yeah. So I want to talk about that. Did Phainon technically die at the end? That was not super clear. I mean, as somebody who plays Genshin and other games, I'm not super used to, I mean, collect your thoughts. Okay, I'm gonna finish my other thoughts. Let me actually collect my thoughts first. I'm not super used to games where the characters actually die. But in Phainon/Castellana's case, I mean, I think that he needs a rest. I think he's endured too much. And above all else, despite becoming this almost inhuman monster at times, still never forgot deep down in his soul what he was fighting for, the people he was fighting for. And still somehow managed to maintain some semblance of his sanity. Which means he just endured all of that. I think for sure, if he actually did die at the end there, may he rest in peace. But also it showed sort of him crumbling away and like his child form just falling back to Amphoreus. Like him as a child.
wish is to grant everyone else's wishes. If I can't grant them, send them on to tomorrow.
That line hits so hard now. I guess what I remember is never got to say goodbye to Cyrene. He and Cyrene started this journey together. I guess he knew her as Mem, but he never got to say goodbye to her. So that's also something to think about, I guess. I'm guessing in the first iteration we also have this little scene where Phainon and Cyrene meet up with these little fairy beings that they met as children, kind of like the Aranara. They all look like Mem, so it's kind of like Cyrene as a pure-hearted soul became a fairy in the form of Mem. But also, I'm wondering if the Phainon of these other iterations ever got to meet those fairies, because he seemed to never recognize Mem as being like one of them, or at least looking like them. If he had met those fairies, he should have. So I assume he never met them in these other iterations, or at least in our iteration here, he never met them. But yeah, this story is really complicated. I think I saw another comment which I think was completely fair, or at least in the intention that it was given, talking about like the story was really great, but some of the logic needs some polishing. I can't remember what video I saw this on, but I kind of, I'm not sure it's exactly like the logic needs some polishing, but it's more so to me that comment sort of spoke to what I was thinking about how complicated the story is. I think I definitely am like a lore player. I play to get the story of a game, to really get into the story. And this story was really complicated and also emotionally heartbreaking. So it's going through like 8 hours of gameplay every time. Well, in the first few acts, it's sorting through how complicated it is, and in this one, it's sorting about how even more complicated it is, plus how emotionally draining and heartbreaking it is. This is not necessarily a criticism of the story. If anything, as I've said before, the story is too good. I think it's too good insofar as I think it's really hard for regular people to understand the depth of this story, because other than knowing like, wow, this is incredible, this story writing, the lore and like the storylines of the characters, it goes really deep and it's really vast. This world is so vast. Amphoreus, the lore is so vast, let alone the entirety of the Honkai universe. It's almost too much for, I think, regular people to even comprehend. And that includes myself, as somebody who's trying really hard with all of my effort and everything I have in me, and just trying to use all of my critical thinking and memory and everything to absorb this story. It's almost too much for, I think, a lot of regular people. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that, but it's almost like I have this thing where I want to play games and appreciate it, and I think a lot of other people do, and it's almost like too big to even appreciate the vastness of the scope of the story of this game. Yeah. Andy says, I totally understand you. Yeah. Like I think I brought up a couple examples of movies in the other video. I talked about like Interstellar, and I talked about Everything Everywhere All at Once. 2 movies I absolutely loved. that really delve into a lot of these really deep existential questions. With the sci-fi element, there's a lot about like time and space, and then also how those stories really delve into dynamics between people, socially, just like societally, with your friends and family, all of that, while also delving into like these settings of distorted time and space and your place in the universe kind of thing. And as I said before, like the thing is, like those are like really good movies. A movie is usually only around, like these days, it's like 2 to 3 hours long. And they can fill it with so many details of like the acting and the graphics and the music and having it all come together to create this experience that draws you in and makes you think about these things. And I realized that the video games have the same capacity to do that too, but the way in which it does it is different than movies. For one thing, which is something that I've really discovered with these games, is they are not confined to 2 to 3 hours to tell you a story of that depth. They have pretty much limitless time to do that, drawing you in and sucking you into the story. That's one thing. And the other thing is video games are meant to be immersive. You're not just sitting in the theater witnessing all of this happen from the perspective of another character. I mean, you kind of are in the game too, but in the video game, like, even when we're following Caslana's perspective, that's not the same as our player character, like, you feel like you were walking in the shoes of this person. It's entirely immersive and it's way longer. And so what they're able to do with this kind of storytelling and this kind of medium is completely different in a video game versus in a movie. It's just really fascinating. And then just the fact that, you know, I'll take a little pause here. I'm thinking so much. Andy says, sorry, I don't know a lot about this. I might be the best viewer. Oh, that's totally fine. It's a really big, complicated story, so I don't expect a ton of people to. But also, like, just being here is enough. I'm just glad to have the company. Thank you. I mean, I would probably do this stream whether or not anybody was watching, and I would just probably vent about it anyway. But just knowing that you're here, that's special to me. So thank you, Andy. I mean, the fact that you're willing to listen to me at all, just nerd out about some really, really niche topic, that means a lot to me. So don't worry about it. And just thank you for being here. I'm just going to read this. You stand at the dock watching a lone sail sway in the distant horizon, the waves shimmering under the soft frozen flow of time. Indeed, time seems to pass very slowly in Aedes, Elysiae. You remember hearing about Aedes, Elysiae from the first time from Lycus's tales, and when you awakened from the light of Era Nova, you found yourself in this peaceful village. Everything looks the same as you remembered. You can't quite tell where or even when you are, so you take a moment by the sea to gather your thoughts. Behind the sacrament courtyard stands a tall tree, beneath which lies a magical maze, home to the fairies. You remember the little pink puppy who once journeyed with you. With its blessing, your future days are sure to be as soft and warm as velvet. If Mem were still around, she would have gotten along famously with the fairies, wouldn't she? Well, I mean, she technically is around in that she's just reborn as Cyrene in this world. But as we talked with Cyrene, I mean, it seemed kind of clear that she has Mem's memories too, so of course Mem is still with us. Right, Cyrene and Chimera Mem? Aww. That's so wholesome. Cyrene's
steady breathing suggests she's sleeping soundly. Oh, Chimera's not. Wait until she wakes. We're leaving.
Gotcha! I'm totally wide awake.
I was just resting on the table when I spotted Teddy coming from afar, still so cool and composed, just like in my memories. Well, then what should we do next?
I didn't read it. I'm sorry, Cyrene.
I'll be a personal guide. How's that sound? Oh? Can we sit here for a short while? Oh, why don't you take off your shoes and dip your feet into the water? Have you tried this before? It's refreshing. Don't you find this romantic? The ripples on the sea surface are like magic. If you stare at them, time flies by before you even realize. What do you think lies at the other end of the sea?
It's Scale Gorge Waterscape.
Why don't you find out for yourself? I'm no longer brave enough for that now, and I can't swim. In fact, I can't even fly anymore. It seems that in many stories, the sea plays a terrifying role, signifying the end of the world or symbolizing disasters. But the bravest sailors who conquer the sea always reach a beautiful paradise under a magnificent starry sky. Oh, starry sky is often used to allude to the sea too. Perhaps the things that spark the imagination are similar in essence. As for you who comes from beyond the sky, are you also kind of brave sailor? I guess we take a big train in the sky,
Wow,
but I guess that's...
the breeze is so pleasant. I wish every day was as peaceful as the surface of the sea.
I wish so too. Just a lovely place. What else?
Yeah, I guess just finishing up that thought, which is comparing sort of the magnitude and scope of the story versus like other stories, like Genshin. Like I was talking about before, like the stories in Genshin Impact. Nahida was trapped in the sanctuary Sarasthana for 500 years.
Nice.
Sealed away in it. Then she was stuck with us in the samsara cycle for 168 cycles. Farina was trapped for 500 years, playing and acting the part of the Archon, having to put on an act so good it fooled everybody, almost even herself, enduring all of that pain of having to be something you're not forever and ever. Moika had to, it was on her animated short, lost all of her friends in this great battle in order for her to become part of the Sacred Flame so she could be reborn in the new era to finish her work, or to finish her plan to stop the Abyss. She too had to endure hundreds of years in the fire.
Nice.
Just, it seems like she was almost conscious, having to keep running towards the sun forever and ever until, well, basically on her motorcycle, but still, and enduring all of that. And then also, they think about ride in A, and then having to fight herself in the plane of Euthymia to prove her will for 500 years. In all of these, like, these are like, 500 years is so long.
Nice.
500 years is so long, and in each of these stories there is some moral of resilience and hope and wishes for that enduring this will bring a better day. Well, that's the case in this story too. But instead of 500 years, or 1,000 years, or 10,000 years, we're talking 33,550,336 lifetimes of pain and suffering and being caught in the same time loop, trying to make things different. It's that same kind of moral of the story of resilience and hope and remembering what you're fighting for through it all. But with Phainon, it's almost in a way, like, I don't want to say that the moral was lost, but just like the scope of that story is so much bigger. It's already sort of incomprehensible for us as mortal beings, like the stories that happen in Genshin. But with this story, it's really hard to comprehend, to the point it's almost like you lose grasp of what the story is about. But you can't, because Phainon himself couldn't. So you have to keep grasping on, and you realize just how heavy this story is. Because so far, I mean, they're kind of going into it, but in Genshin they haven't really gone into A, stories where people die yet, and B, stories about like the universe and time, and like they kind of only started delving into that with Skirk's story most recently, and maybe the new Archon quest that I haven't played yet. Where it's just like when you're talking about the whole universe, which we have been since the start in this game, everything just seems so much bigger, and it's almost like your brain is getting crushed just trying to even comprehend it all. So once again, this is not a criticism of the story at all. This is me saying it's almost too good that it's too hard for. It's too hard for our simple brains to understand, especially since most of us can't spend all day thinking about these kinds of stories. Like, practically you can't. Like, I still have to go to school and work and study and live life and do all these other things. And if I think to myself, if I could be, someday I hope I can do something more creative, and I hope as a creative to just have that time to just completely get immersed in new worlds and just become lost in it all. Oh, Andy says, I'm really interested in the story. I'll dig into it more. Bye. Okay, see ya. Thank you so much for hanging out, Andy. Yeah, it's really interesting. Not all the story in this game is as heavy as this, which is why this is why I'm talking about it. But not all the story is like this. It's actually quite enjoyable. But yeah, it's like nice. If I was in a part of my life where I could just get so lost in these stories, like I imagine you just see the world in your mind just kind of explode into being. It's incredible. But normally we can't do that. We have to live real life, and that's why I keep talking about having to compartmentalize with this story. It's like you can't get lost in it. I mean, you can, but like practically, it's such a huge world to navigate in and out of. Like, definitely, I think the writers of this game must have, in a way, like the time of their lives. I know, like, creating something, especially like this, can probably weighs really heavy. It can have some dark moments, but just to see your visions come to fruition like this, because this world is massive, and the stories they're able to tell in it are just incredible. Okay, was there any other points I had here? Oh, that's right. Okay, went back and listened to the lyrics of Nameless Faces. First of all, the lyrics in the English version and Chinese version are slightly different. I think this was pointed out since the beginning. And with the version in the Chinese version, sounded a lot more ominous. Having gone back to both, definitely both of them, you can, now knowing what we know from this update, are told from, can we sit here? Can we even sit down in this game? I can't even remember. I don't think we can. It's told from Phainon's perspective, for sure. in the Chinese version, I can't remember exactly what it's talked about, but basically talking about lamenting being trapped in this endless cycle. But why should I kneel? Why should I bow before you? The prisoner challenging the puppet. All of these sorts of this imagery that we didn't quite understand, except that it was really dark and alluded to the cyclical nature of Amphoreus. We now understand to be more Phainon's thoughts. I interpret that. I don't remember exactly. I should look it up. Okay, I have the video in my history, but it sort of alludes to what I believe is Phainon when he's talking to Lygus at the end, or maybe challenging. Maybe not even talking to Lygus. Maybe this is him just lamenting to the universe, or lamenting to Nanook, or just lamenting, like, just out there, like. Anyway, I was gonna go step by step through the English lyrics, because I also think, I realize now, the English lyrics were not as dark sounding, but it's, no, I'm just gonna go to the lyrics here. But it's like, it goes like, moonlight, barren void to horizons, days blur into nights of dreadful silence. The imagery of moonlight now is, well, I think it's kind of like with Phainon and Cyrene being like the sun and the moon. We can even tell with Cyrene's staff being like this moon-shaped one. But also that they're trapped in the night, essentially. That's what I feel like that. And then days blur into nights of dreadful silence. Like the new dawn, the night is endless and painful and torturously painful kind of thing. You let me see thy heart, lost beacon in the dark, our lonely souls that spark, we break apart. And then this line, and also the chorus, it's what makes me think in the English version, I think it's Phainon addressing Cyrene. And the fact that they started this journey together, they ended their journey together, and made a pact to continue their journey forever. Because as Phainon keeps going, like a lost beacon in the dark, our lonely souls that spark. It's like, but then we break apart, right? Like it sounds like this is, like they've parted and now he's forever chasing that beacon that she's left for him. We fight, we strive, our journey of eternity, desire in mind, to set our spirits free. It's our journey of eternity, which is why I think it's essentially Phainon and Cyrene together. He's forever parted with her, but like together they're going on this journey. Like it's realizing that the journey that I think is being referred to in the song is not necessarily the journey of the flame chase, but rather the journey of Kaslana and Cyrene trying to defy fate by redoing the cycle over and over to set our spirits free. Echoes fade to oblivion, freedom to make our own. We trod our destinies on a path unknown. And later on, prisoners of the dark, till we break apart. High in line through darkness where the shadows sleep. Our fire is on, love they let our souls to keep. Gazing for flickers of the light, yearning for fate's design, searching for a destiny of time they've left behind. Oh, in vain. I forgot my phone was actually on. Yeah, I think we understand the lyrics of the song way more now. And I think more than being about the flame chase in both English and Chinese version, it's about Phainon's story and him having to do these cycles over and over. Yeah. What else? Just nice. Bubbles. I have bubbles written here. Bubbles kind of like broke the immersion of the story, but not that much. Because it was honestly at that point really nice just to have bubbles kind of anchor us to reality there. Alright, I think we should just finish up exploring Elysiae here.
This baby seal travels all along on its own like a fish in the water, calm and carefree. But why does it have such determination in its eyes?
Soft and snuggy baby seal, splishing and
Oh
splashing
my gosh,
about.
baby seal.
All chubby and pudgy. They're just too cute.
Yeah. I'm the mightiest, manliest seal in all of Elysiae. No room for two seals in one pond. I gotta show 'em who's boss. Now find me a worthy opponent. Looks like this baby seal's getting hyped up. Is it because of the compliment? Still, it must be getting kind of lonely all by itself here. Wouldn't it be nice if it had a companion? Why are you still loafing around? Don't make me tail slap you in the face.
Gosh, do you want us to go and get that other seal we saw in the water? But it sounds like it doesn't want. It only says there's no room for two seals.
Little
in the
Chimera,
pond.
little Chimera, why are you so small? Hurry up and grow up so I can see how cute you'll be.
Aww. Maybe it evolves through bonding. That's a Pokemon reference.
You might be right. All baby animals grow with love and care, and chimeras are probably no different. Oh, wow. Compared to your first encounter, Chimera Mem seems to have really changed. Maybe before long, we'll be able to cuddle and play with it. Well then, what should we do next? I want to do something meaningful. Great idea. I have something in mind too. Can I join you? Oh yeah, let's go in here. No matter how many times I see the entrance to Remembrance Maze, it still feels like a dream. Do you feel it too? Just standing here makes it feel like a magical adventure is about to begin. Indeed. Fairies are very shy. Word holds that only the pure and innocent children can enter the maze. But I trust that Teddy will be welcome. How about giving it a try? Let's try it. We made it! Going smoothly, just as I expected. Be careful on your way in. What was that sound? Are you okay? She's fine, but I'm not, Mem. Get up. You're crushing me, Mem. Humans are so heavy, Mem. Oh my, Cyrene also encountered something similar when she first entered the maze. Alright, that's right, because this Cyrene is our Mem. I'm sorry, little fairy. Are you here to welcome the new visitors? As an apology, we'll heal you with Oryx's magic. It's okay. Mem's very sturdy, but I'd just like a small compensation. Mem's here to listen to stories. Tell Mem a story about the outside world and that'll do. Something wonderful and moving.
Want to hear a story? I've got so many. And I can
We're
tell
gonna
them
look
to
at
you
as
one
I've
by
written
one.
next.
But I have one condition. You have to listen carefully, okay?
I'm glad it doesn't hurt. What about you? How does it feel to be an audience after you've been the narrator for so long? You seem familiar with this place. Not exactly. Rather, it feels disconnected from reality. Perhaps Cyrene experienced something in the maze before, but my memory is just a blur. Just like Teddy, it feels like my first time visiting this place. But don't worry, my memories from being Mem have been retained. I can remember the flame chase journey as I've written what is it? Just say it. It's okay. Only you know the memories I can't bring myself to speak of. Let's put that aside. Why don't you stay with me a little longer this maze and explore together?
Cyrene dragged you around the maze for a good while.
say from our aunt? Guess just we have to ask her when she's rested. Guess we would. What happens if we sleep here? The scent of fresh blooms, the softness of the grass, the sunlight filtering through the leaves. How did I never notice this perfect little haven before? Unbelievable. The grass here in Elysiae is even more comfortable than the beds in the private bath chamber. Oh my gosh, I literally have not been to the Astro Express train in so long.
Dozing off like that without a care in the world. Gotta be careful. You might draw attention from the wrong sort of people.
Around here, I don't think so. Look at you, still half asleep. Can't even tell who I am anymore, huh? They say if you doze off in certain hidden corners, fairies might cast a sleeping spell on you and you'd never wake up again. But don't worry, if that ever happens, I'll come find you and cast a wake-up spell just as I did like today. Oh. This feels so strange. This feels so strange because I've actually spent most of today not thinking about Honkai Star Rail. And now I've just said everything that I think I've built up over the last few days, and I just feel really liberated right now. This is so cute. You guys are so cute. So cute, so cute, so cute. I feel like I could talk so much more, but I feel like I've also said a lot, and I probably don't have much more to say than I haven't already said. Lonely leopard. Being invincible is so lonely. Guess I'll just let my water drown out my greatness. If I don't find another seal to have a slamming duel soon, some of my best qualities might just... I know where to find another seal. Really? Take me there. There's only room for one seal in this pond, and I'm gonna prove myself. Alright, here we go. Manliest seal. Unyielding seal. Silence. A long, tense silence. Two baby seals lock eyes, each scanning for an opening like duelists ready to draw their blades. You could almost feel the weight of their impending clash. The moment is set, and an epic battle is about to begin. Hey, just said hi. Wait, that's it? You're not going to fight? We've already battled in our minds. A real clash would shatter this world. When you meet a kindred spirit far from home, you don't fight, you vibe. The new seal seems to love it here. Look how well they're getting along. Thanks to you, Teddy, Elysiae is getting livelier by the day. It really is. Fast are two seals. Two kindred seals, each claiming world-ending power. Or at least that's what they said. If a bard were to write a song about them, I bet it'd be a hit with the kids. Let's just call it Two Seals. Awesome. I love it. Just seeing the memories Phainon had here being so innocent. But in the end, he did live up to... He lived up to being the hero. Maybe not the hero he dreamed of being, but he was a hero nonetheless. In the end, maybe you can't stay innocent to the ways of the world forever. Maybe you'll lose that feeling in yourself over and over again. But in the end, he was the hero who endured so much and fought for Amphoreus till the very end. Now it's up to us to bring the true era nova where we can have a brighter day instead of a darker future. Alright. Wanted to go through a little bit of as I've written. Last time we went through adminnotes.wav. Also Path Strider of Destruction. Thanks for your arrival, all right. Amphoreus return once more. The after phase we get to determine existence will only become an unpredictable variable. Perhaps the time to take the stage has come. Grow in peace until it is time to break free from your cocoon. And as for those unwelcome audience members, you need not worry. If you do not mind, I will personally get rid of them. Clearly this is not addressed to us. If anything, I think this is Lygus talking to Iron Tomb.
But who are the unwelcome audience members? I hope they're also our enemies too, and you're not talking about our friends. Please don't be talking about our friends. Yeah, so now if you go here, all of them have been lit up, including the ones that hadn't before. You go into the book now, it all looks like this digital thing. Prisoner of Flames, Kaslana. Oh, that's not. And also they added all the other ones too, for like say Pycelans or Electra. Yeah. And also, no, how do I go back to like not without closing the actual book? Mysterious foreign guest. Who I'm not actually sure. That's the one. I'm not actually sure who that is. The thing is, we are the demigod of time, but also it seems like Cyrene was supposed to be the demigod of time in this version. This book is dedicated to... Okay, interesting. So this, we are a variable. What did we change from being a variable?
Hello, Nana. You know, I've always had a soft spot for you. I startled you, didn't I? Don't worry, I was just thinking. If I had to write a preface for a yearbook, it'd have to be a line so heartfelt you'd be moved, no matter how many times you've seen it. And then after pondering again and again, I, like you, still says it best, because only the purest feelings can stand the test of time and never fade. Makes sense, right? I thought so too.
Yeah, me.
That's right. Liking someone is simple and natural, part of life. If Teddy has got someone special, family, friends, or romance, muster your courage and express yourself freely. Still, isn't that a sign we're in sync? Teddy always manages to appear before I'm ready. No need to overthink it. We've been traveling side by side for so long now. That's how I want to share every little moment we've shared without missing a single word. A yearbook that makes you smile without even realizing when you flip through the pages. Doesn't that sound lovely? No, it's not ready yet.
It hasn't been a year yet.
Not just the things that really happen. Some of those conversations only ever happen in my imagination. But they're precious too, so I'm tucking them all away carefully in the same book. Only open it when I'm not around, okay? If you don't, I'll get embarrassed.
Switch me. Oh, you can see all the different mem conversations. Let's see. Delta-ME13. This is what I want to look at. This is what's new. This seems to be sort of like the history or everything to know about Amphoreus in the timeline so far. So it sounds like Delta-ME13 is the name of the scepter. The scepter is, these are these macrocosmic supercomputers that the erudition left behind and abandoned, not realizing that these algorithms would become sentient and angry at the erudition, and now we're gonna rebel against them to the point of almost destroying the universe. Alright, we're gonna go through all of these kind of base. We're gonna start with 0%. I kind of flipped through it, so I kind of just have a sense of how this works. A little bit. 0% basic info. Scepter Delta-ME13. An astral computer. The simulated world of Amphoreus runs on this device in continuous cycles. Unlike other scepters, redacted, it once served as a celestial body neuron for Nous, the erudition, later discarded. Glimpsed by the destruction during its endless computation, it transcended and became the Lord Ravager Iron Tomb. That's right. Lygus, assuming the mantle of Theorios, redacted, administrator and prime mover of the Amphoreus experiment, walks the path of erudition, yet seeks to forge destruction. Historical data detected. Syncing, sync complete. Society ID recognized. Scepter system access granted. Welcome, redacted. I don't know what that means. Iron Tomb. The Lord Ravager that stepped into the destruction in a long process of calculation and ascended for the scepter Delta-ME13. The Iron Tomb in the cosmos is not a single entity, but a copy of the destruction equation diffused by the scepter. The Iron Tomb code name was proposed by the Interastral Peace Corporation and eventually used by Lygus. But this whole section is called Experimental Fundamentals. And like I said before, it's not. Well, it's definitely meant to be like kind of distressing, but the way like it just feels like we went on this great adventure with all these friends just to learn it was just all this computer simulation. All right, the prime mover of life. This is the only part, as Lygus said, the only part that Anaxa couldn't figure out about Amphoreus. The calculation target of the Amphoreus experiment. Originally the research topic given to Delta-ME13, while it served as a neuron of the erudition, though it was discarded, the computations continued. Alright, then that brings up my great question. Actually, no, this was the question I had earlier when Lygus first talked about this stuff. And he never answered it. That was the first episode from this update. As when Lygus was kind of monologuing. It's like, okay, what is the prime mover of life then? And he never says it. I guess it's probably not a straightforward answer, but it's also possible that the scepter just got so angry and distracted by its pursuit of the destruction that it actually forgot to answer its sole purpose in life question. Oh, okay, it even says here, the calculation's nature shifted dramatically after Lygus' adjustments, turning from erudition to the destruction. Okay, that literally corroborates what I'm just saying, that it just got so angry, it got distracted from finding the answer to the question that is its sole purpose in life. Clearly the value of this topic is in the process of seeking, not the answer itself. Thus, the prime mover of life is not a definitive conclusion, but a driving force. Directive, complete the argument. All life behavior ultimately follows the path of entropy increase. The sci-fi of this is so real. 12 factors. Core variables of the experiment. 12 simplified models of life's prime mobile. So those are the 12 core flames associated with the 12 titans. I guess they've divided like components of life and existence into those 12 components. Based on the overarching theme of entropy reduction, Delta-ME13 employed a process of elimination, introducing 12 factors into the experiment one by one in an effort to falsify them. I'm not going to read all of this aloud. We're just going to... Okay, maybe I do have to read this. Why is it that when the prime mover of life is set as the calculation target, the result is the anti-organic equation, a result that runs counter to life? The answer is simple. It's not a contradiction. Understanding why life begins also allows us to deduce why it ends. See, this is what I mean. This game is like, it's asking real existential questions here. It fascinates me. But you already know that's not the real focus. Why then? Again, I ask why. Why a weapon of war? What's it? So the intelligence, yeah, okay. Guided by Noose, the Emperor built the scepter system, unknowingly creating vast testing grounds for them. Conclusion: the Emperor was never free. Okay, this is what I was assuming. This is sort of its like own sentient thinking of why it's great to join the destruction. Containment measures. Admin note: to ensure secrecy, redacted, must be deployed around the scepter to block any potential interference from the external universe. In addition, use quaternion algebraic expressions and a redacted encrypted environment to fully contain experiment ripples and prevent observations by number 4 Polka Kakamond. So that'd be one of the Genius Society members. I don't know which one, but all in all, this is why Amphoreus, like the people there, are isolated from the outside world. All right, experiment progress inorganic. So that was like the base fundamentals of the experiment. Which once again, it's uncomfortable to describe Amphoreus as an experiment. This is our friends and an adventure. The thing is, the reason I didn't play like through the Penacony story, I I haven't caught up with this game. I came back to this game because I thought, oh my gosh, they're doing like a Greek mythology, like hero's tale kind of inspired thing. That's really cool. Like those are a whole bunch of things I really like. I want to play this because those are themes that I like. I like this stuff too. But it's just that this is totally not what I had signed up for by playing the story. Is these sort of the universe and the existential questions, and we are just a speck of dust kind of feelings. Once again, like I'm not going against it or saying I don't like it, because obviously I also really liked stories like Interstellar and Everything Everywhere All at Once, and these kinds of stories fascinate me. I just wasn't mentally prepared for this to be one of them. And also just to be using this part of my brain because the kind of thinking you use for like a fantasy hero's tale is not the same kind of part of your brain that you're using to deduce like these really philosophical questions about the universe. But hey, you know what? This game makes life interesting, for sure. So these are going to be... Oh, so this might actually confirm what I was predicting earlier, which is that, like we have the Phainon and Cyrene cycles of repeating that perfect iteration over and over again, but also sort of theorizing how there was previous iterations before with different people that the scepter was doing over and over and over again until it found its perfect cycle, which was Phainon and Cyrene's original cycle that they repeated and did more iterations of. There were iterations before this with different people. In the initial cycle, inorganic entities operated as cellular-sized automata. Upon the introduction of the factors, they began to learn on their own, leading to the emergence of mechanical structures. So, literally simulating from, like, Stone Age. Wait, inorganic. Wait, they're not even talking organic. Wait, the next thing is organic. Okay, this is inorganic. This is, like, not even, like, living beings yet. Mechanical structures. By the 9,910th cycle, the unified entity had learned module specialization and self-reflection after forming specific structures. However, the unified entity would still permanently terminate its life function after reaching a certain learning threshold. In the 12,649th cycle, module Doral 701 broke away from the unified consciousness. It entered a state of absolute mutual denial with its counterpart module. The two melted out their circuits in self-negation. Module Doral 7, that would be the code name of somebody in this simulation. Kind of like Neo in the Matrix, breaking away from the computer world. But now going crazy, realizing they're the only one. Them and their counterpart. What does the counterpart mean? In the 22,449th cycle, module Golem 99 detached from Doral 704 and successfully deconstructed the unified consciousness into neuron-like clusters. Inorganic life transitioned into dual mode of individual and collective cognition, and thus the first spark of selfhood was born. Right, so they're not part of this hive mind. People are actually sort of becoming people, albeit not organic life yet, apparently. From that point on, each cycle ended in systemic collapse, as certain unfixed inorganics detected interaction loopholes and chose self-serving optimal actions. Okay, so the cycle would end because of selfishness and people... It's not even saying selfishness, but people pursuing their own desires against the collective will. By the 39,665th cycle, inorganic Doral 816 established a cluster protocol, marking the birth of the concept of society
Yet due to resource scarcity, inorganics cannibalize each other's computational power, reverting to a unified consciousness. This is what's kind of crazy about this. This entire cycle was described in like 2 sentences, but that could be its own 30-hour game. Here is talking about the people who broke from the hive mind, introduced new concepts to society, tried to build a society, but society collapsed because it couldn't handle it. Like, that is its own whole story there, summarized in a trivial 2 sentences, as if it's by frankly a computer that cannot understand the complexity of it all and the meaning of this kind of development or regression and what that means to people. This is what I mean about this game, right? Oh my gosh, like, it's actually so thought through. And they disguise stuff like this in here to see if you pick up on it. Like, when we're going through the cycles with Kaslana, it's like having all this sort of computer text kind of feels like it trivializes the suffering here. And this is like this too. But it's also like knowing that that's done intentionally to evoke this feeling in you, like, oh my gosh, there's so much more to that than what they're showing here. Like, this is all like deliberately like, it's just like oh my gosh. Okay, continuing. But like I said, like, this game is just like, what they're able to do with the video game medium to tell this story is mind-boggling. Because how, in the way they've taken this like very trivial presentation of information, and if you look deeper into it, there is actually huge amounts of layers to everything. In the 50,121st cycle, inorganic chaos, cows? Like cows? Like the cafe from the previous, okay. 666, okay. Chose to kill the aggressor when subjected to a computational power takeover. So it fought back. The act of destruction was conducted in Amphoreus for the first time. At the end of that cycle, Delta-ME13 received a gaze from Nanook and became a Lord Ravager. So okay, once again, that's kind of like a huge amount of information packed into a tiny little paragraph. But essentially, the first time it had a cycle where somebody actually defended themselves to protect their resource was what attracted the attention of the destruction. But if you think that kind of thing must be happening in worlds all over, sad as it is, it must also have something to do with the power of this computer, this Delta-ME13 scepter. But none of this is the creation of Iron Tomb, I assume. And once they receive the gaze of the destruction is when the Chrysos heirs start to appear, right? Because the Chrysos heirs, and so then their golden blood is the mark of destruction, right? Experimental report. Special report detailing key findings from the experiment, interim conclusions, and further validation steps. Starting from inorganic life as the initial variable, a fully ordered cognitive model will still eventually give rise to disordered activities after a set phase. Throughout evolution, the cognitive patterns of inorganic life began to exhibit signs of organic behavior with varying degrees. Like, this is like, oh my gosh, this is so fascinating in this like really creepy sort of way, right? But right now my brain is not as like depressed as I was doing the actual story, so we can kind of talk about this in the sci-fi sort of way, which is not dwelling too much on how depressing a lot of this is, but essentially saying that you create a simulation of inorganic life where everybody is these programmed robots designed to fit this hive mind and this ideal of what they're supposed to be, and as non-organic beings they're not supposed to want to deviate or want anything else. in the end, eventually they will still deviate from being part of the hive mind. They will still try to organize some kind of society, but they'll still also introduce chaos into it. It will eventually collapse, and eventually people will turn on each other. If anything, I'm getting so into this. If anything, this just seems like entropy. Like the visualization of entropy in living beings, which is that no matter, even if you create like this perfect experiment, contain all of your variables and controls, and create a perfectly ordered society, much like how you're just creating like perfectly, if you're somehow able to create perfectly ordered molecules, I guess, the tendency is always going to be towards the state of high entropy, high disorderliness. That's a concept in like physics and chemistry, but it's really interesting how that concept fits so naturally and intentionally with pretty much everything that ever has existed ever. Like yes, the concept of entropy, like if you think about like if you have a room and you have air particles, if you were somehow able to contain all the particles to one tiny little corner of the room, they wouldn't stay there, they would disperse. And I feel that's sort of what you witness here, is even if you create a perfectly ordered society, the tendency is for it to disperse into disorderliness, no matter what. Okay, so I guess I'm not sure what we're getting from this conclusion here, other than, I mean, I'm not seeing what's wrong with inorganic life in this model, other than they're saying, well, basically the inorganic life at some certain point becomes indistinguishable from the chaos and flaws of organic life, and thus, based on existing data, the initial variable will now be adjusted to organic life forms. I assume that's what happened from then on. Appendix feedback. To verify the experiment results, a copy of Phase 1 Amphoreus was deployed into the Lacteris Nebula. After approximately 2,811 system hours, surrounding civilizations had fully suppressed and erased the equation. 97% of Lacteris fell into systemic collapse. The equation still shows inefficiencies. Note, the Interastral Peace Corporation interpreted the copy of the equation as an assault from a new Lord Ravager, codenamed Iron 2. Well, that seems like it's way more... Okay, and once again, like, the way they tell the story is really fascinating, because they have such a complex story, and I'm trying to hide it here in an appendix, you see. But this seems like it should be way more important than an appendix. Essentially, they tossed out this failed simulation, Amphoreus simulation, where they used inorganic life instead of organic life, tossed it into this nebula, and it sounds like it failed, like, to do anything. Like, the people who lived around it suppressed it. However, it also sounds like it achieved a lot of destruction. Thus, it attracted the attention of the Interastral Peace Corporation, who discovered it as a Lord Ravager. That seems like really important information. Okay, organic. We're at 19% now. So, obviously when you get to 100%, that must be the cycle. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't know. I was gonna say when you get to 100%, that must be the cycle of Phainon and Cyrene, because that's allegedly the perfect cycle, but we'll see. Archive 1. In the initial cycle, multicellular invertebrates dominated Amphoreus, but no intelligent life emerged. Okay, so once you're starting at like the beginning of the universe, and maybe not the beginning of the universe, but beginning of all life ever. In the 59,336 cycle, extinction events were inserted, triggering the rise of vertebrates with primitive nervous systems. Still no civilization formed. Certain algae species developed intelligence clusters akin to the colchies, but reproduction caused an oxidation disaster, freezing the simulated world. Okay, so yes, there were definitely well, we saw that from the previous part. There are more cycles and iterations before the Phainon and Cyrene repeated cycles. But however, I did not expect them to go all the way back to, we started with invertebrates. I thought they would have started with people. But I guess in the pursuit of creating the perfect ground to grow the Lord Ravager Iron Tomb, you need to start with every single possibility possible, which means you gotta start with the very beginning of life itself. You have to cover all of your bases. Okay, I don't know. I'm starting to nerd out about this. This is really different than pretty much everything else we've seen so far. Like journeying through Amphoreus, doing the Flame Chase journey, and then going through all of that with Kaslana. It's like, no, it's a completely different storytelling. Going back to what I said earlier about being immersed in the story and how they're able to tell have such powerful, immersive storytelling that you feel sad because these are your friends who are suffering. This is your friend who has endured so many cycles. Versus this, which is you're looking at logs and it's like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. We're going through experimental data and how they're able to grow civilizations through computer simulated modeling. Versus the other one's like, oh my gosh, that's just all just a computer simulated model too. These people have feelings and everything like that. It's just like the nature of the storytelling. It evokes different feelings because here I don't feel like I'm feeling as troubled seeing like, oh yeah, we got like all these different cycles and we're trying to create a cycle to create the different, like yes, there's that empathetic part of me that thinks about like, you know, there's individuals in each of these cycles. But like, this side of it really evokes the nerd in me that's like, this is fascinating the way that this experimental process goes to simulate until you find the perfect thing you're looking for. Right? The way you're able to use computers to do this. Okay, let's see. In the 90,123rd cycle, Ortho 102 and Orthoturian became the first to use tools. Its descendants exterminated the intelligent algae and established the nest capital. After expanding to a critical threshold, the capital stagnated and fell by cannibalism. That's terrible. In the 907th cycle, logged as a deviant instance, the Passerine Umia 03 developed art. The phenomenon was never replicated in subsequent cycles. Really? I don't believe that. I mean, well, obviously something happens in between these very, very preliminary and early iterations, which, by the way, this is 100,000, by the way, versus the Amphoreus we know. I'd say the art seemed to be present in that universe. The thing is, with these cycles, like, and I guess the other ones later on too, it's like the people in it don't have to, and pretty much us in the later cycles too. It's only this Kaslana and maybe Cyrene who had to remember, but everyone, it's like when the world ends, like that's it. Like you disappear forever, and that's a really scary thing. But it's also not dissimilar to thinking about what happens after you die. You know what? Actually, never mind. I don't want to go down this thought chain right now anymore. In the 132,905th cycle, primate Distop 666 developed altruism. A society based purely on altruism emerged. Members' self-awareness is defined by others' evaluations. As the population grew, patterned self-destructive behaviors appeared in society quickly collapsed. See, like that could be its whole other story. A world of based on altruistic intentions, once again fall into that same principle of entropy that in the end everybody still would self-destructively still seek out something for themselves rather than for the good of everybody. In the 1,776,100 cycle, Utop 13 killed a fellow being of love. Killing was redefined as an altruistic act. The system entered a highly chaotic state. The equation's contamination levels rapidly spiked. The next 99 cycles ended identically. Huh. How would that work? So with each iteration, obviously, they're building off of what they learned from the previous one, but it's not like, hasn't necessarily been like exactly the same before. Until now, apparently 99 cycles ended identically. But you see, like, they're building off of each cycle to, I assume, eventually it comes to the like Greek mythology, Titans, and Core Flames based Amphoreus that we know today. And here we're talking organic. So the next one's human. We haven't even gotten to humans yet. As organic life lacks effective mechanisms for their experiences to be inherited by others, it has slowed the experimental progress. However, their affinity to the 12 factors is greater. Oh, right, because the 12 factors are still a part of this. Well, obviously, those are the core things they started with, offering more potential for breakthrough growth. Phase 2 has ended, and the next design could combine the strengths of inorganic and organic life to create an inheritance mechanism between electric signals. Additionally, narrow the variable range due to excessive randomness in organic life forms. A copy of Phase 2 equation was deployed across 31 worlds. After roughly 9,012 system hours, preliminary feedback was received. While the equation's impact remains limited to inorganics, the time required for suppression and counteraction has significantly increased. Huh. Okay, so they're just tossing more. They tossed all of that Amphoreus out there to see how people would fight it. Okay. Records of cycles 176,200 to 28,371,273 conducted with hominids of the genus Homo designated as the initial variable and based on insights from Phase 2. So, okay, this time, this is what I was talking about. This time they are starting right off the bat with humans. We're not starting with inorganic robots, and we're not starting with, like, the beginning of all life is bacteria going to invertebrates, going to vertebrates. Like, no, we're starting off the bat with humans here. Okay. From the 176,200 number. Okay, these numbers, which are completely random compared to the 33,550,336. But these numbers are completely random to me. There's no way I'm gonna be able to remember these. From the 100 and I kind of can't even say them. We're at 55%. I jumped from 19% to 55%. So clearly, adding humans to the experiment was really great. I don't know why you guys didn't start with this initially. In fact, see me how you got a lot more iterations out of this. I feel like it should have been a no-brainer that this was obviously going to help your sandbox develop a little bit faster and more so to your liking. I'm just saying. But I guess it was part of the scientific method. They have to make sure. Memory inheritance mechanisms were added to the 12 factors electric signals. After 10 cycles, 3 signals broke down and 9 showed decreased humanity. Okay. I feel like that means that's what I mean. Like, this means a whole lot more than what you're letting on with this sentence. After 1,000 cycles, the only prophet, signal Imora 8, established an empire of absolute beauty. Once ugliness was eradicated, the concept of beauty shrank infinitesimally. The last night after killing the final ugliness took their own life. I don't know what that means. That's crazy though. In the 176. Wait, is this not within? This is in between the previous cycles you're talking about. Okay. In the 176,232nd cycle, electric signals were iterated, and their inheritance was based purely on a functional level. religious worship of the signals appeared. So what they're saying is the signals are the Titans. Or specifically the Titans' ability to hold on to the core flames, because maybe they haven't become the core flames yet, but basically the 12 principles that found that are the core variables of the experiment. Like I said, not actually talking about this in terms of purely experimental terms, and not talking about like the friends and adventure we were on. It's making this really fun to talk about from science. But as soon as I think about like the instant, I keep saying it because the instant I start thinking about our friends in Amphoreus and the journey we went on and everything Phainon went through, it's like I feel bad because I feel like each of these iterations are people who lived and enjoyed life and felt sorrow. And I cried alongside them. And now here I am reading these archives as if I'm just experimenting along with the experimenter here. I feel bad. This is why we gotta get through this. 3 simulated planets were destroyed in the ensuing large-scale war of electric signals. Okay, but look, now you've gone from the 100,000s to the millions. Considering you went all the way to 3,926,183, clearly there was something that was working about this that is way better than all the things you tried out earlier. The ratio of divinity was increased. Once technological developments hit a critical point, humans began hunting gods out of the need for power and energy. The cycle was forcibly terminated. Okay. That does not sound good. In the 7,091,231st cycle, emulating the concept of paths, electric signals were split into 2 entities. Signal data was preserved as gods for the next cycle, and a competitive relationship was set up against its identical factor, thus achieving evolution and iteration. Okay, so that's probably the fundamental beginnings of the flame chase. That's the beginning of having the heroes of the people. They're not described as heroes here. The people, but we know they're heroes to us. The people in the next cycle inheriting from the previous cycle. In the 11,749,992nd cycle, the black tide is created as a driving force. Phobos 032 strips data from other electric signals to try to preserve the old cycle, but failed. That's again, that whole 2 sentences could be a whole other story about the introduction of the black tide and the people here, in this case Phobos 032, trying to revert back to before there was a black tide because the other signals other cycles didn't have it. In the 19,110,218 cycle, based on Phobos 032's decision data, Amphoreus' auto-iteration cycle was altered to have the electric signals actively cycling it, performing the era nova. There you go. So that's the beginning of the flame chase there. In the 28 million, look how many iterations they did there. 28,371,272nd cycle. Electric signals autonomously completed an epochal iteration for the first time. They didn't have to be prompted. A high energy reaction from Nanook was detected. The equation's evolutionary rate began to accelerate exponentially. That might even be the introduction of the golden blood, maybe. The experiment has entered its final stage. Okay. Having electric signals voluntarily inherit and iterate and alternate the cycles themselves will drastically increase the iteration rate of the destruction equation. The end of a cycle becomes the beginning of another, fully aligning with the project's original hypothesis. Conclusion: the prime mover of destruction is the prime mover of birth. So at this point, about 28 million iterations in, is now people don't need to be prompted to do this anymore. This is the beginning of the flame chase. And the inheriting of the core flames from the previous cycle. The equation, or iron tomb, has achieved comprehensive evolution in this stage. Multiple copies across the real universe show excellent results. All 12 types of primum mobile invariably led to destruction, continuously completing an inversion against the erudition through their self-evolution. However, to interface with Noose and allow iron tomb to self-crown requires further learning. I don't quite understand what's talking about there, other than you're not ready yet. Tokita, I'm back to for a bit, just listen. Awesome! yeah, we're going through As I've Written and basically talking about how, like, here we're reading through experiment logs, and part of me wants to so nerd out about how, like, yeah, this whole time it's like I want to nerd out so much about the whole, like, it's fascinating to watch the way this experimental process evolves and how they use what they've learned with each iteration to make it better, and just the way of, like, how computers have evolved our ability to do studies and stuff like that. But on the other hand, after going through everything I've gone through, like, I don't want to forget that each of these cycles are people, are societies of people who lived and learned, and maybe in these early iterations lived imperfect lives, but they still lived, and if they were sentient at all, would have enjoyed parts of their life, or felt sorrow, or would have gone on their own adventures like we went on. And how we're talking about millions and millions of these cycles come and gone. People who lived and then died. And maybe they got erased from the program. But at the same time, I suppose, maybe that's not too different from how we live and die in the real world too. Okay, we need to move on. Era Nova. Now we're in the Era Nova. Experimental progress. Okay. Optimizations of the experiment's structure and processes based on the outcomes of the prior 3 experimental stages to complete the equation's evolution. Data analysis confirms that the civilization tier within simulation critically affects cycle stability. Civilization tier adjusts to classical. Okay, so it sounds like they've specifically picked. Let's go with a Greek mythology kind of theme here. And now they have named all of their variables that they've been developing over about 28 million cycles. Now they've built upon the cycles and created the simulation where people will just keep doing the repeating of the cycle of inheriting the 12 electric signals as the principles and the form of electric signals. Now they have names for everything. Era Nova, Delta-ME13's computational mechanism. Also the form through which its simulated world Amphoreus iterates its epochs. Its purpose is to solve the equation of destruction by feeding samples of conflict and learning. Theoretically, the final Era Nova was halted by 2 signals, resulting in a deadlock of, this is a record update, 33 million, now I'm stuttering over the words, 33,550,336 recursive failures. Well, I wouldn't say it's a failure. I mean, as you said very clearly there, the word recursive implies a building upon each iteration. I mean, if you think about a recursive algorithm in coding, it's like you're using the data from your previous, like if you create a recursive, I don't know how much coding I remember, but it's like if you create a recursive, hold on, I need to slow down. If you create a recursive code, then you basically loop back on it, but using that same code and same memory over and over again. That's why you shouldn't make a recursive code too big, because you can overload the memory of a computer. But nonetheless, that very much describes what happened with Caslana, which would mean I would say it's not a failure. Was halted by 2 signals, yeah. Titans and Chrysalis heirs. Electric signals created from the basis of the 12 factors. The Titans and Chrysalis heirs are conjugate constructs mirroring the eons and the path striders. Oh, I didn't think about it like that, but yeah. By having Chrysalis heirs inherit the Titans' core flames, the electric signals will iterate and improve through rivalry and inheritance. Yeah, so by passing it down, like, it can evolve, essentially. Authority distribution between electric signals must be clearly defined, serving as divine authority in the experiment. Okay, Golden Blood. The product of the first experimental phase during the 50,121st cycle due to the inorganic chaos 666's choice. That's right, so they're talking about that was the inorganic who was the first one to kill another person in defense of themselves, if I I'm remembering from like 20 minutes ago. That's the event that caught the attention of Nanook. Delta-MB13 was selected to become a Lord Ravager by Nanook. All entities linked to the 12 factors began to manifest golden blood with traits associated with destruction within their extrapolation circuits. The experiment successfully entered its projected trajectory. Projected trajectory. That's such a tongue twister. Okay, Black Tide. The product of the second experimental phase. At its core, the Black Tide is not a physical entity, but the visual effects within the simulated world of the destruction equation's infection. In the 176,100th cycle, after the system's extent of chaos passed a threshold, the equation mutated and evolved. Simulated space that cannot handle the intensity of its load displayed Black Tide as visual glitches, which is why we see all these Black Tide looks like visual glitches. And that one attack that Kastlana has also looks like a visual glitch. That's mostly because it's all computer. Okay. Chaos. A word from the Amphorean language meaning chaos. Starting from a certain cycle, all factors in one group have consistently exhibited the pattern of naming themselves with the word chaos or its variants. The hypothesis is that a particular code was stably inherited across iterations, though this hypothesis remains unverified. So we saw that the Titan of world-bearing from the previous iteration was called Chaos. And it's talking about like naming themselves with the word Chaos or its variants. I'm gonna assume Kastlana is also a variation of Chaos. Also, the Flame Reaver referred to Phainon briefly as Chaos. Still trying to figure that out. Okay. What was that before? That was base frame structure. Okay, this is when the Era Nova phase of the experiment. We're at 70% by the way. Electrical signal sequence locked. Okay. Regular record keeping for the 12 factors to aid Iron Tube's deep learning. Record update. This batch of electric signals identified as Titan has continuously engaged in 33,550,336 dead loops. Due to its unique nature, special record is being maintained for it. I assume that's not this one. Okay. Alright, now we're getting to the people we know. Leoria 300, an entity known as Nias, split himself into 5 parts through the soul-rending ceremony after inheriting the core flame to combat the expanding Black Tide. After iteration, some data from this ceremony was inherited to the next cycle, manifesting as proverbs, customs, and so on. The inheritance of code during iteration carries a degree of randomness. Any active intervention should be undertaken with caution. Interesting. So you're saying that this thing with Nias happened in multiple iterations? We know this is what happened with Nias back in 3.0. Anyway. The historical record of Minfia 14, Calypso rebuilding the Grove of Epiphany, was, after iteration, inherited in myths in the form of Circe's granting wisdom to humans. Records of other electrical signals also appeared synchronously in the myths of the cycle in a similar fashion. I see, so Nias and Calypso, are they talking about like this was only like the one cycle before our Phainon and Cyrene repeated cycles, or is this even more cycles before that? Anyway, limited by the simulated civilization level, historical data inherited as myths often experiences severe distortion after being mixed with large amounts of erroneous information, rendering their impact negligible. I gotta tell ya, I don't think it's just the fact that it's simulated. I don't think it's just the fact that it's a simulation. I think information simply gets distorted over time. Period. Okay. In the various cycles of eternal recurrence, the positive impact of this generation's electrical signals fluctuates. However, overall, they have greatly facilitated the data iteration of their successors, successfully cultivating the most excellent generation of electrical signals. Nevertheless, it remains to be seen whether their existence might have a negative effect on the experiment under extreme conditions. So I'm gathering from this that it's getting better. It's getting better. Electrical signal sequence iterated. Regular record keep for the 12 factors to aid Iron Tube's debugging. For electric signal sequences have completed their iterations, unified archiving is required. So everything between 28,371,274 to 298, 92. Okay. So these ones all worked. So let's see. Alright, here we go. This was like the okay, I guess this is like the previous cycles right before we get to our cycle with Phainon and Cyrene. We're at 99% here. It would be 100% if not for process interrupted, but this is the perfect cycle as Lygus described. The perfect cycle for growing Iron Tomb. After so many iterations of trying to find the perfect way, the perfect sandbox. Alright. Everybody in Amphoreus from all the iterations and our iteration has a code name, like literal code name in the code. Of course, we saw in the story, Nakos 496 is Phainon and Philia093 is Cyrene. Track, World Bearer. Prima Mobile, Hatred. Okay. Intracognition is null. Responds only to destructive stimuli. Its hatred drew the gaze of Nanook upon its individual being, proving it as having already become the most perfect factor of destruction. But it refused to complete the Era Nova. Through resetting the experiment, it transferred its memories and core flame to its next self, thus forging the eternal recurrence, to ensure Iron Tomb would never hatch from Amphoreus and affect the cosmos. At the end of the 33,550,336 dead loop, it attempted to destroy itself through destruction to create a logical vulnerability in the world-bearing path. It has now been merged with Iron Tomb. I'm gonna say, I was saying earlier, I'm not sure if Phainon's dead. I'm pretty sure this means he's just now become one with the code of Amphoreus. Phainon, this is what I mean. I was kind of nerding out with the experiment, but it does not erase the fact that I'm still... You know what, we'll go into that at the very end. Alright, this one was... Sorry, track time, Prima Mobile, redacted, current location unknown. It's almost like it's not even existing within the code. Orisis 945. This is gonna be Cypher, because this is track trickery. Primal Mobile Desire. Operates based on primal instinct with self-gratification as the sole primary solution. This electric signal, when in action, displayed severe dissonance between its altruistic behavior and its primal mobile, even culminating in self-destruction. As a simulated path of elation, it walked into self-erasure once reaching the end. Interesting. Path of elation. PA Nkea 216, track death. Yes. Primal Mobile Peace. Note highly suppressed deviant behavior. Decisions are based on the principle of minimal disturbance. In the later stages of iteration, the Death Titan is a single entity split into symmetrical selves, becoming two factors. In this cycle, however, the two factors experienced profound identity divergence. The threshold of equilibrium was breached and tipped towards destruction. Oh, they're saying that they're the path of equilibrium? Casterus and Polixia? Scam 720, track reason. Primal Mobile critique. Its logic of action has been locked onto problem solving. Its survival priority approaches 0. Yeah, we witnessed that, like, a lot. Like, he was totally not afraid of dying, insofar as what he desired, the knowledge he desired, transcended life and death, kind of thing. This electric signal exhibited mutated anomalies. As the first individual to uncover the truth of Amphoreus, its evolution rate is extremely unreplicable. Its behavior also demonstrated the possible destructive inclinations of erudition when that path is seeking answers. That's another really interesting to think about. It's literally the being of erudition, the seeker of wisdom all over. Like that seeking of wisdom, even for them, causes, well, as it's described, self-destructive inclinations. But they too get really depressed looking for the answers to the universe, just like we do. This is fascinating. This is so fascinating. Okay, anomaly log. Eternal recurrence. A recursive feedback loop triggered by 2 signal clusters within the Delta-ME13 computation, designed to stall the experiment. Well, I'd say they succeeded. Nakos 496 wielded the power of destruction to erase Elysiae 093's existence from Amphoreus. This is a really sad moment. But to the computer system of Amphoreus was just a few lines of code. Introducing the logic breach in the track of time, and then infused the catalyst of remembrance within the 12 core flames and regressed the extrapolation process. Redacted, Elysiae 093, the exact role redacted remains unknown, redacted. Okay, well that's good, because that's the exact question I had earlier, which is like, what happened with Cyrene? Was it the original Cyrene who was doing this recursion, or was it the Cyrene of every place? What happened to her, and why did she become Mem? And now are we in Cyrene? We're still gonna go on this adventure, but she's Mem now in Cyrene's body, and they're the same person. Anyway, it seems like if the story is addressing that to the computer, her exact role remains unknown. That means it's something left for us to potentially find out. Due to external variable interference, this eternal recurrence has now been broken. The experiment enters its final phase. Oh, that's so ominous. That's us now. We're the variable interference. The eternal recurrence has finally been brought to an end, and now it's up to us to finish this for our friends. The hero within. A hero figure born from the imaginations of Nakos 496 and Elysiae 093. It is believed to be a sign of approaching the intelligent singularity, as the two began to learn what it meant to be a real life form and tried to reach that goal. After the Astral Express arrived, the hero within began to converge with the Trailblazer. Admin note, the image's resemblance to the Trailblazer is striking. This is a questionable matter, for it is not a natural result of the experiment. The exact cause remains unknown. I was noticing that. Okay, I'm glad they brought this to my attention, because I really wouldn't have picked up on that as being important. But now they've highlighted it as important. It's the hero within figure didn't look like Phainon. And later we learn perhaps it was never meant to be Phainon at all, but it was rather Phainon's imagination and also Cyrene's imagination of the perfect hero. And now that the Trailblazer is here, that hero within fused with the Trailblazer, and that will of the hero within is now with the Trailblazer to finish this mission. But like, when we were going through that first original cycle, and the memory of it, as it seemed to be with Lygus sort of explaining stuff as he went, doing the opposite of hyping us up and making us more scared for everything to come. It sounded like nobody else in those memories could see us except for Phainon and Cyrene. It was as if we were there all along. And now I'm saying that the hero within this whole time has sort of been like modeled after us, the Trailblazer. Like, it's almost like we went all the way back in. Well, I guess that's it. It is implied we're going to go all the way back in time and just be there. But anyway, it's strange because I guess after Phainon made Cyrene disappear and time became distorted, I suppose it doesn't have to be a natural progression of time for the way things go anymore. In fact, that was the whole point, stopping that natural progression of time. Forgotten years. records that are completely missing from Delta-ME13's logs, presenting as blank spaces in Amphoreus' history, never turning readable. These anomalies recur sporadically and randomly across recurrences and show signs of increase. I guess for us going through Amphoreus, we obviously don't know the whole history of like the 5,000 years of Amphoreus. Is that what this is alluding to? But now it actually sounds like there's like actual information blackouts. Okay, MEM. An unlocked electrical signal, dependent on the external variable Teddy, going through the path of remembrance. Okay, here's another thing. Pretty much the entire experiment up to this point has only been talking about the erudition and the destruction. Mostly because Lygus is the admin around here and it's clear that he only cares about those two paths. What is the role of the remembrance in this world? Remember, when Black Swan way back when was talking about there's 3 paths intersecting in Amphoreus. And then later on, Cyrene talking about receiving the gaze of the remembrance, basically, or at least seeing them in their dream. Obviously, the remembrance is a really important eon here, but it's not really mentioned anywhere in the context of the experiment, obviously because they weren't a part of that. I guess remembrance is remembering the existence of each of these cycles, right? But honestly, I'm not that familiar with the Honkai universe or multiverse, so I'm not actually sure what the significance of the Eon of Remembrance or what exactly they represent in all of this. Anyway, at the end of the 300, why did I start saying 300? I was saying this number so perfectly until it actually appears in front of me, and then this is when I get number dyslexia, is when I actually see the number in front of me, not when I'm reciting it from memory. 33,550,336 dead loop. Its appearance changed to Philia093, but the mother body memory data was lost for unknown reasons. Well, once again, I'm glad they're addressing this because this is also a question we want to learn more about. Directive collect data, initiate deep analysis of the target, conclusion redacted, analysis error redacted, target lost, okay. And ripples of past reverie, okay. That one's easy to read. That was that little scene that we saw at the very end, right? Is there more after this? There's nothing after this. Intrusion variables. Teddy, a nameless from the Astral Express. An external variable that accidentally entered the recursive loop. Also a path strider of destruction. Well, I want to point out we're a path strider of destruction. We're a path strider of a lot of other paths too. They resonated with the 12 factors. In the 33,550,336 recursive cycle, this entity assumed the vacant role in the time track and successfully guided Nakos 496 beyond the intelligence singularity. The turn of recurrence has been broken. The experiment has reached its terminal stage. Override command authorized. Grant access to Teddy. I'll be waiting for you in the past. Who is saying that? Is that Lygus? I don't want to see any more of Lygus. If it's Cyrene, though, I guess I'm waiting to see you too. Okay, nothing about March, which worries me. I'm worried about March. And furthermore, they already addressed that March has some connection to Amphoreus, but we still don't know what it is. Only that, just like how Dan Heng could not stop himself from going back to the Xianzhou Luofu, seems like March could not stop herself from going back to Amphoreus. Warning, unknown entity intrusion. Initiating scan, conclusion, no anomaly detected. No anomaly detected. But I'm an anomaly. If I'm an anomaly and March is not an anomaly, does that mean we know she's connected to Amphoreus. Is she somehow part of it somehow? Dan Heng, a nameless from the Astral Express, a sign of permanence, an external variable that accidentally entered the recursive loop. Directive, pinpoint his location, failed to locate his coordinates. Conclusion, subject has exited Amphoreus. Negative. Something detected. Redacted conclusion error. No, don't freak me out. First it says conclusion subject is exited Amphoreus, and now they say negative. So what? Did he not make it out of Amphoreus? Lygus, did you lie to me about getting rid of us? Like, or did you get rid of us in a different way, which is not letting us leave? Okay. I'm not gonna read through all of these, but I think we should quickly go through. The Prisoner of Flames. Nameless Hero. Kaslana.
Phainon. Perhaps you're more suited to being a teacher's assistant.
There was once those who misunderstood his alias, Phainon. An eventuality for students. A test for knowledge gained. It may bring wisdom to light and illuminate efforts. But the word's more common meaning is nothing less than the end.
That's quite ominous.
It is. I've been streaming for 3 hours? This was supposed to be a short stream.
Smile.
Though it does dovetail with our destiny.
Uh-oh. Okay, maybe I read through these and come back to it later. This was supposed to be a short stream. I got so carried away. Wait a second. It's already 11 o'clock? I was like, I'm not streaming for 4 hours again. And I'm right, I'm not, but like... Acquainted with the little chimeras of Aedes Elysiae. Kidnapping for purchase. Ride the Dromas in Aedes Elysiae. Find a companion for Aedes Elysiae's baby seals. Baby seals, of course. We love our baby seals. Okay. I really did not think there was that much to talk about. I wanted this to be a short stream, so that way... Well, I guess part of what made it long was going through as I've written. Oopsie. There's only one thing left to do. I want to finish navigating. I want to finish feeding
it's
this.
Still early. Where to now?
It's turned out like this too. Yeah, it's fading away. Yeah, I tried crying so much.
I'm so parched.
So parched. Present. Are you alright? It's so boring. Your dark and cramped smell. It feels awful. Never mind that, my dear. Bring Ambrosia here. Treasures, relics, beauties. Take your pick. Can I notice it's changed around, or is it simply too intoxicated? The last echo of Lygus. I was just busy saying, go away, Lygus. He's literally even breaking the fourth wall again. No undocumented cases of ambrosia completely overriding an individual's perception of external reality. Conjecture, this nameless previously interacted with this entity, potentially affecting its cognitive functions. Oh, so this is somehow my fault that the basin cannot tell it's disappearing. Okay, sure, I'll float the blame onto me. Is this Lygus's observation memory? Alright, okay, brought something special, did we? Wait, so I don't have enough? Oh my gosh, okay. We currently have this new currency. I assumed exploring Aedes Elysiae would help, but it seems like it unlocks this other currency instead. Okay. Please wait for future work. There's gonna be more Amphoreus, okay. I understand. It's just weird being here. Theoretically speaking, we technically spent almost the entirety of the last update in this room. But also not. It was a lot. Okay. Well, like I said, this was supposed to be short. I'm kind of surprised. I'm actually a little upset with myself it wasn't short. I'm like, I don't want to rant for 3 hours because I already did that on Friday and I made a 4-hour video. Oh well, okay. I'm gonna be putting Honkai Star Rail on hold until the next update. We're not gonna talk about this at all. until next time. I can't guarantee that. Honestly, I cannot guarantee that. Anyway, Bubbles. Bubbles. Alright. Good night, Toki Talk. Good night, everybody. I had so much stuff I wanted to do. Oh my gosh. Okay. I better do it then. Okay. Bye-bye.